Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Mindbody Medicine for Chronic Pain podcast. My name is Sean Hershey, and I am a psychotherapist, and I specialize in helping people heal chronic pain, chronic symptoms, and chronic conditions using emotional and psychological modalities. Most people don't even know that's possible, but it is. In fact, when it comes to chronic pain, the modalities that are meant to heal you by changing your body, altering the structure of your body to heal the pain, that those things don't work. You're here because they haven't worked for you. The only way out of chronic pain is emotional and psychological work. So here we are doing that work together. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, before we start, and we've got an awesome interview today with Nora Rodden. She's super fun and great, and has a really profound recovery story, and has dealt with a lot of pretty intense symptoms. So I'm sure this is going to be meaningful to a lot of people. Before we dive into that, two announcements. First and foremost, I started a free email newsletter, which is awesome. So this is a way to announce like podcast episodes, keep you posted about like updates, etc. And I mean that's like sort of face value, the point of the new email newsletter. But underneath that, like the deeper value, my intention for you in getting these emails, if you are someone who experiences doubt in the mind-body healing process, or if you get distracted from the mind-body healing process, sign up for the emails. I really encourage you to sign up for the emails because this is the purpose for you. The emails, I'll just be like quick, simple reminders, like probably about once a week, like, the podcast is coming out, whatever. On a deeper level, these emails are a reminder in your inbox to your nervous system, just a simple reminder to bring you back to your center. A reminder to keep this healing work in your conscious mind. I know how it is. I know how the brain drifts away from this, and I certainly know how the brain doubts this. So another reminder to bring you back in, bring you back to us, bring you back home to your body. Okay, how do you sign up? There's a link in the show notes right underneath there. You can click, it's Sean's free email list. Join the list for free updates and advice. Click right there and put your email address in, and you are on the list. You will join the growing crew. All right. Also, second announcement, but this is all like that's like first and foremost. This is kind of like second and foremost. Announcing the Nervana app. Nervana. Nervous system meets Nirvana, right? Nervana. Great concept, right? Nervana is a mind-body recovery app developed by none other than today's guest, Nora Rodden. Think of Nervana as a personalized coach for you, for your chronic pain and your chronic pain recovery, for your specific symptoms. You'll hear, in the interview, you'll hear about the features and the benefits of Nervana, when we talk to Nora. And I think you should give it a try. I really believe this app can help you. Nervana is informed by the latest research, and it uses state-of-the-art technology to deliver mind-body healing information to you, and you can be one of the first to try Nervana. How awesome is that? Search Nervana, Nervana, in the App Store, or you can find Nervana online at trynervana.com. There's links in the show notes. Just scroll down, and you can get right to trynervana.com right from there. And when you try Nervana, okay, this is exciting. This is when you know that your podcast is getting legit because you are here and because you are listening to my voice right now and you are hearing this right now, you are in. You know about this. You know about the discount code for you. For anyone who's listening to this podcast and anyone who's hearing this, it's Sean50. SEAN50, and you will get $50 off the Nervana app. That's Sean, SEAN50. How legit do we sound right now? Discount codes, people. Wow. This is getting so real. Mind-Body Medicine for Chronic Pain podcast, people. This is it. All right. Try Nervana, $50 off. You heard it here. You heard it now. I mean, you'll hear more about the app when we talk to Nora. I think it sounds like a great tool to help you. Click the link in the show notes. Okay, very last thing. If you want a person to be your therapist and you know you need to take your healing deeper, then hello. I would be happy to be that person. I'd be happy to be that therapist for you. And if you're interested in setting up a free consultation to discuss psychotherapy with someone who understands chronic pain, then you can easily contact me. My website is mindbodymedicineforchronicpain.com or seanhershey.com. Both will take you to the same place, and it will be right where you need to go. Okay, let's talk to Nora. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Mindbody Medicine for Chronic Pain podcast. I am here with a wonderful guest, Nora Rodden. Welcome, Nora.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here. And Nora and I met at the ATNS conference, and Nora's so fun and funny, and we like ate lunch together and had great times together. We just like hit it off right away. And Nora has created an app about mind body healing, and she has her own recovery story. So we have a lot to talk about today.
Yes.
But Nora, why don't you just start by like introducing yourself?
Yes. Yeah. It's where do I begin? Childhood, the womb. Basically, yeah. So my story starts when I was at Cornell University in undergrad. I was a senior in college there, and I got hit by a car as a pedestrian, like walking to class.
I did
So
not
that
know
was
that. Wow,
yeah,
I did not know
yeah,
that. Oh my gosh,
yeah.
wow.
So that was the start of my chronic pain journey. I think I was like in denial at the time that anything like really traumatic had happened. I was rushed to a trauma center. I was in a lot of pain. Not a great way to spend your senior year of college.
Oh
But
man.
they technically my body recovered. Like they diagnosed me with some microfractures. I got a concussion. But other than that, all was supposed to be well. But for the next 5-ish years, I had chiropractor appointments, physical therapy, acupuncture, clinical massage, pain specialist, steroid injections in my back, nerve ablation, where they burned the nerves in your back. Like I was doing these procedures maybe 2 to 3 times a week for the next 5 years.
Wow. Wow. Okay. And just to clarify, like what were you feeling? Like what symptoms did you have post
I
accident?
I just had this like pain in my middle back area. And it was just kind of like this throbbing pain. It would come and go. I felt very identified with it. Like I would, after that accident, basically, I never carried a bag again. People at the airport or airplane would help me with my luggage. I would, constantly tell people I had a bad back. I was always like moving and twisting my back left and right or like using a lumbar support. I just felt like I had this unpredictable back pain that was 100% attributed to my car accident.
Mhm. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that it's wild to hear about how um like the way that it was so core to your personality. And I mean, this is funny because like we only met for the week at the HNS conference, but like you just like you were just like there walking around,
Yes.
the idea that like once you were someone who was like really defined by back pain is like,
Yeah.
okay, I wouldn't
Yeah.
have really known that, but damn.
Totally.
Spoiler alert for the audience, there's clearly a great healing
Yeah.
story here. But
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
what you were getting all these procedures, what happened?
Yes. So what happened was, I graduated Cornell. I was living in New York City, working in healthcare investment banking, which is like a very high stress job. I only lasted like 8 months there before I left to a different
9
job.
months. My first job, my first social work job in New York, 9
Really?
months.
Yeah,
I beat you by 1 month. It's rough out there. Jobs
it
are
really
hard.
is. But what ended up happening was when I was in New York, I was working that high stress job and I started to develop a totally different set of symptoms. And basically, I kind of like ignored my back pain for a while. It was still there, but I was more so fixated on digestive issues. So, what happened was like I started eating really healthy when I was in investment banking because they pay for your dinner and I was very frugal at the time. So I was like, oh, now I can afford like to get sweet green salads and dig in rather than like cooking for myself. And so these are like vegetable heavy meals, and I would order them in banking. And I would notice that I would get like hugely bloated after, not just like normal bloating, but just like really, really bloated, even like a little bit of like pain and discomfort. And so naturally, I did what everyone would do. I went to my doctor. I had decent health insurance at the time. So I went to my doctor. They referred me to a specialist. Being who I am, I was like finding the best specialist in New York that had like the best credentials. I think this guy like went to Columbia and like had all these fellowships. So I found the best specialist and we did all of these tests. I swallowed a camera to like track your insides. I did a colonoscopy, an endoscopy, and I'm like 22 doing all of these like these procedures. And I did a round of antibiotics. They officially diagnosed me with SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth.
Same. I've had
Um,
that. I've definitely had that
yes.
diagnosis as well. Same.
Yeah, and so, you have an imbalance of bacteria. I took all these antibiotics, I did standard of care, and then they basically were like, "Yeah, you're just gonna have to, have a be on a low FODMAP diet forever," which I don't know how many people are familiar with FODMAP, but basically it's
Yeah,
anything
yeah,
delicious.
right, right, right. So, well,
Like
and just so people understand, because I do know a low FODMAP diet, but just so people understand like how limiting that is, just like run us the basics of that. Like, what did that mean for you?
it was basically the 2 things I remember the most were onion and garlic. You can't have onion and garlic, and I am Middle
Everything.
Eastern, like, literally, like, all of the food I enjoy is very flavor forward, like, aromatic,
Yeah.
onion, garlic, and then, like,
Yeah.
a lot of vegetables are off limits, like, I think
Ugh.
nightshades, which I didn't even know that was a category, but I realized, like, tomato is a nightshade.
Nightshades is the most random assortment of things. I mean, obviously they're together for some scientific reason, but it's like tomatoes, potatoes,
Yeah.
eggplant. What? What do they have in
Like,
common? So ridiculous. But go on.
super ridiculous. But basically, I spent about a year struggling with these GI symptoms, namely bloating. It was so bad that I wouldn't be able to like suck in my stomach. It was really affecting me as like a young girl in New York City. Like I couldn't wear my crop tops. I couldn't like go out the way that I wanted to. And I was just really insecure about it. And it led me down a journey of like feeling very fearful of food for the first time in my life, too. So the low FODMAP diet like spiraled into okay, let me try the Whole30 diet. Let me try an elemental diet where I'm literally just having like packaged liquid that tastes horrible as like a means of, normalizing your gut and trying to reduce inflammation. But none of it worked. Like none of it worked. At one point, I think I literally didn't eat any food for 3 days because I was trying to just like deplete everything in my stomach so that I could start fresh. And I still was bloated. So it's like,
Yeah.
again, same with the back pain. Like I was having some of these signals that like it wasn't really what I was eating, but I still was feeling like, okay, it has to be the food that I'm eating.
Right, right,
So,
right. And let me just, I love that you're sharing this. I just want to pause for people listening to say, when you're going off of the wrong theory. For example, like the problem is the small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and that's the source of
yes,
the problem. Then these things they make sense. Like, okay, great. If I starve the bacteria, I have so been there.
yes,
If I
yeah,
starve the bacteria for 3 days, then I can reset and things will be better. That makes sense if it really was like if the core of the problem was a bacterial overgrowth, but the core is deeper than that, and you didn't
right,
know that yet, so none of the
right.
treatments worked. Yeah.
Totally, and I think what was so frustrating at the time too was that The symptoms were so inconsistent, which now we know is a hallmark of neuroplastic symptoms. But at that time, it was just so difficult to predict what would cause a flare up or not. Like sometimes I would eat anything I wanted and my stomach was flat and normal and I didn't have any issues. And then other times I would be overly restrictive and I would have bloating. And so the unpredictability was the key pain point for me because it made it very difficult to just plan my day or to go out on a Friday night and to say yes to dinner. So I was
Yeah.
becoming a little bit more of like a hermit because I didn't really want to go out as much. And so that was a really stressful time. I think emotionally and mentally it was like one of my lowest times.
Yeah, yeah, and that's so painful, and, like, most people listening to this podcast have just, like, 1,000% been there. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
whatever you're comfortable sharing, like, if you wanna say a little bit about what that was like emotionally.
Yeah. I think I had a lot of trouble admitting that the restriction was really causing me to spiral into like an eating disorder for the first time in my life.
Mm,
I'd never thought about that before. I didn't identify as somebody with that before. But I was just like, my mind space was overly consumed, pun not intended, overly consumed with like eating and
yeah.
portioning. And it started with symptoms and like wanting to reduce my bloating, but then it kind of just spiraled into like an overall fear of food. And I remember feeling at the time, I don't remember how to eat. Like, I don't remember how to be hungry and how to be full because when you're chronically bloated like that, your stomach is distended at times that are not correlating with whether you're full or not. And so I would just like forgot how to feel full. I forgot how to feel hungry. And so I was just like logicking my way towards like eating. And I remember feeling so frustrated that we as humans had to eat like every single day.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, right, when it's such a pain point, yes.
Yeah. So, I started to, I remember actually a few years later going back to my personal Reddit and seeing the kinds of posts that I was posting. And I feel so sorry for myself because I was posting these novels on Reddit being like, hey, SIBO community, like, here's what I did today. This is what I ate. And I ate like 3 grams of this. And then I did this. And then I ate this. And I, how do you guys know how to like stop eating the cookies? Because once I like have one cookie, I don't really know how to stop. Like, I
Oh,
just
yeah,
lost a lot of like trust in myself and my ability to like eat and be full. And it was really taking over my life. And so that
yeah,
was a really hard time.
yeah.
And similar to the pain, like it never really went away, but it became background because I then went into graduate school. So I was in New York for 2 years and then I moved to Boston. I went to Harvard Business School and I got a master's of science in biotech and an MBA there. And when I was there, I had like, the best, time. It was COVID times, but
Yeah.
frankly, business school was like a pretty good place to be during COVID because we still had a lot of
Being a
fun.
therapist was a cool place to be during COVID as well.
Yeah, so we were having a good time and business school was great. I met my husband who was my boyfriend at the time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And yet, believe it or not, I developed like the third major symptom of my life, which was, one of the worst for me, which was insomnia. Kind of out of nowhere, out of the blue, I think I was actually on vacation, like living it up as a business school student, and I just suddenly started to not sleep. Just like don't even know what triggered it. I just like couldn't sleep. And that persisted for months after that. I tried everything. I was, of course, starting with melatonin and then like working my way up to like really heavy sleep medicine from a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist at Harvard that I talked to like kind of alluded to this being like my fault somehow.
Mm,
And I just did not get any good treatment. I was so scared of going to bed. I would like go to bed and my heart would start palpitating
Oh,
because I was
man.
so afraid of the lack of sleep and what it would do to me.
Right.
So once
Right, and
again,
I just wanna interject there and say
yeah,
now, of course, as you know, and most people listening to this know, but I just wanna draw this out. The symptom threat or pain threat cycle is
yes,
so important in understanding like why symptoms persist, and like what I'm hearing is like such high levels of threat your body was experiencing around just
yes.
sleep, which you know most people listening to this will understand and see themselves in that. Like, yeah, it is scary to have these symptoms. It's hard to sidestep the sense of threat, but yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah, I that's exactly right. Like it felt like such a big threat. And I remember thinking like I'm treating my sleep like an Olympic sport. Like I would literally get in like my bedtime routine. I would have this fear, this like this chest tightness, and I'd be like, "Okay, Nora, you're going to get into bed today and you're going to first think these thoughts. And then you're going to use your melatonin cream. And then you're going to like sit there and my boyfriend would be asleep in 5 seconds." Which
Oh
would like
god, and how infuriating is that?
which further, like yeah, that made me so angry. Like I was
Right.
irrationally angry at his ability to sleep so quickly.
Totally.
But once again, similar to the way I was with food and feeling like I lost the ability to eat in the way that was normal for me, I also felt like I lost the ability to sleep. And I started being obsessed with it. Like I would post in Insomnia Reddit channels all the time. I would ask people in school, like I would meet someone, I'd be like, "So how do you sleep? Like what do you do to sleep?" Like I was just so,
Yeah.
infatuated with like what were people doing? What was the recipe to go to sleep? Because I had lost it. Like I had lost that ability to do it naturally.
Yeah.
And so I was really in a very low point. I remember being in Portugal with my boyfriend on my birthday, having a really, really bad bout of insomnia, like not sleeping, feeling like I was really losing my mind because when you can't sleep for multiple days in a row, like you just really feel like a shell of a human. And
Yeah,
I just
I'm so
remember
glad you're
yeah,
talking about this. I'm so glad you're talking about insomnia specifically because that I mean, that's not never symptom I've experienced, like, in the extreme by any sense,
yeah,
and I we haven't really talked about it on this podcast before, and, like, hearing about it, it's like, whoo, like, that is heavy, not being able to sleep, like, I'm
yeah.
glad we're talking about this. So, yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
And also not traditionally, like, known to be a mind-body issue or like a
Definitely.
because it's not a physical symptom.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, I just was really at a low point. I think that was my mental rock bottom for sure, was when I was, like, on this trip in business school with my boyfriend on my birthday. All of these things were going right for me in life, and yet mentally, I just felt exhausted. Like, I
Yeah,
was playing whack-a-mole with these chronic symptoms. I was
yeah,
always obsessed with figuring out the solution. I just felt like I was, like, living a double life. Like, one part of me was this happy-go-lucky, bubbly person in graduate school, and this other part of me was just buried with anxiety and constant chest pain and, like, chest tightness, and I was, like, the type of worrier that would be like, "Oh my gosh, I have, chest tightness. That means I have cortisol running through my body, which is bad for my overall health." Like, I was just
right.
I was upset with being upset.
A 1,000% understand that. So yeah, what happened?
So, that was my mental rock bottom. Somebody had sent me, like, a meditation app, which I had tried before, and, it was Sam Harris's Waking Up app, which I highly recommend. And so I tried that app and, like, meditation started to resonate a little bit with me, so things were starting to look up. I was feeling, like, a little bit more in control of my mental health. I went back to business school, and I think that same week, I saw a poster on campus that literally said, "Do you have chronic back pain? Have you tried everything? It has nothing working. Try this clinical trial." So being desperate, I called the number, and it turned out it
But and
was,
I just wanna point out just to think, in the midst of the terrible insomnia, the
yes,
bloating that's, like, driving
yes.
you to the edge of your sanity, you also
Yeah,
still have the back pain. It's
I know,
like
I
this
still had
it's
the
so
back pain.
outrageous how this can be, and I just wanna say I have definitely had those moments where I'm like, "Oh my god, my stomach. Oh my god, my hip. Oh my" like, Why? Why? What's happening to my body? Like,
I know.
it's unreal. But yeah,
There was
go
a
ahead.
big woe is me, like, why is this happening to me?
Yes. Yeah.
And so I called this number. I enrolled in this clinical trial that was all about the mind-body approach. I'd never heard of this before. The trial itself was called Psychophysiologic Symptom Relief Therapy, PSRT, and it was a small pilot trial for back pain, about 30-ish people in the trial. And it was led by Dr. Michael Danino, fantastic emergency medicine doctor, and he was really helpful in convincing me to enroll. I was pretty skeptical, and because he was such a like smart individual, I was like, okay, maybe I'll give this a try. Like, here's this doctor telling me to try this. Basically, it was a mind body approach. They taught us about Dr. John Sarno, and I was in a group with just another individual, so it was just the two of us. And we both had back pain, of course, because that was part of the trial. But at the time, the insomnia was like most present for me. And so anytime they were teaching me about the back pain, I was kind of extrapolating and applying that to my insomnia as well.
Nice.
So the trial was a lot of education about mind body approach. It was journaling, which I was like, why are we journaling for my pain? That doesn't make any sense. But, I
Sure.
tried it. And it was also some like meditation, somatic tracking, mindfulness. Few weeks go by. I'm doing this trial a few times a week in a group setting virtually. And I just wake up one day and realize I haven't thought about my back pain in a few days. Like for the first
Mhm.
time in years, I hadn't
Mhm.
really thought about my back pain.
Mhm.
And at that point, they were giving us these like weekly questionnaires of like how our pain was doing. And I just like started to be like 0. Like I don't really have pain anymore.
Yeah.
And so it was this gradual revolution for me. And it was amazing. I then started to apply those same learnings to my digestive symptoms and my insomnia. It wasn't like an aha moment right away, but I started to realize that all of these symptoms were related for the first
Mhm.
time. I didn't
Mhm.
know that they were before. I kept thinking like I'm just such an unlucky person getting like
Mhm.
by a car and then having
Mhm.
SIBO and then having this insomnia. And
Mhm.
that was my aha moment. There's something going on that is explaining these chronic symptoms and learning about my personality pattern, learning about the fact that, like, the same traits that made me really good in school and a good employee were also the same traits that made me prone to these chronic conditions, hypervigilance, and learning about the evolutionary mechanism, like why we are this way, like why we have evolved to protect ourselves. Like that was really transformative for me.
Yes. Okay. Yes. For everyone listening, if you are out there like, what's wrong with me? Why do I have so many symptoms? Why is my body unlucky in like
Yeah.
20 different ways? Listen to what Nora is saying. There's one thing. And it's like one complex thing, it's like the mind body connection. And
Yeah. Yeah.
but there's one underlying principle that actually explains all of it.
Yeah, and I also think for a lot of us, and I was this way, it was really hard for me to have self-compassion. Like I was not very good at having compassion or giving myself grace. Very, very hard on myself. Didn't feel like I deserved to identify as somebody with pain or with insomnia or with digestive issues. Like I kept brushing it under the rug. Like, no, other people had worse issues. And so I didn't really deserve to label myself that way. And just learning about the human condition as a human condition, that was the first time in my life I felt self-compassion because it was like, "Oh, I'm not compassionate because, like, I feel like I'm a victim in this." It's like, how sad is it that the human condition evolved for us to, like, develop these mechanisms for us running away from, like, a tiger in evolutionary times, and that's the same mechanism that's reacting to the fact that, like, I have this stressful email or this, like, stressful
Mhm.
job, like, those are the same internal mechanisms, and that just made me feel a lot more compassionate for myself.
That's beautiful. I love that.
So, another thing I stumbled across was the TMS Wiki at the time, and so
Mm,
that was, just an online community forum, and, like a lot of us with neuroplastic symptoms, I was, like, very specific to my symptoms. So I remember that's actually how I found you. I think I was searching, or I posted my story, I started sharing my story with this wonderful community, and somebody had said, like, "Oh, actually, like, there's a podcast where Sean Hershey had described his bloating symptoms," and I was like, "I have to consume that content because
that
I want
well,
I just
and it was
need."
yeah, Nicole Sachs's podcast, that was a few years ago
Yes,
now, and it's so that's
yes,
amazing because as you're describing your bloating and your IBS symptoms, I'm just like, "Yo, my story is so similar." So it's funny
yes,
to me that somebody else also heard your symptoms and was like, "Sean Hershey."
yes,
Because yeah,
yes,
very
because
similar.
and now that I'm recovered, like, I realize that it's not as important for you to find a success story that is, like,
Yes.
exactly the same diagnosis, but when you're in the thick of it, I understand how important it feels at the time to, like, let me find somebody with exactly my same diagnosis, because if you don't, then there's this, like, voice in your head that's like, well, maybe your diagnosis is different. Maybe your symptom is special and it's actually, like, bodily related, and you just haven't found the right pill. And I
For
think it was
everyone listening,
really.
like, do you hear how normal it is to doubt this? Like, do you hear how normal it is? Everything that Nora just said, I have thought, you have thought, everybody listening to this
Yeah,
has thought,
yeah,
and and then it ends up being this. Go
yes,
ahead.
yeah. No, and I think so. There was one individual that I feel like saved my life.
Mm,
She had wrote this angel on the TMS wiki had wrote about insomnia and how
mm,
there weren't a lot of resources out there about insomnia in the mind body community. And she had wrote this post on the TMS wiki around how insomnia is like no different from any other physical symptom like pain, and that the key that she was missing for her insomnia recovery was outcome independence.
mm,
Outcome independence being the concept that when you go to bed that night, you have to believe in your heart of hearts that you are going to be okay, even if you get 0 hours of sleep.
mm.
That was really revolutionary for me and is the biggest advice I give anybody who is in the thick of their neuroplastic symptoms. You have to believe that you're going to be okay. So, for the next few weeks after reading that blog post, I would get into bed and I would still have my anxiety. I would still have my heart palpitations, but I would repeat to myself, Nora, if you get 0 hours of sleep, 0 minutes of sleep, at least your body's resting and you're going to be okay. And you have historical evidence where you have gotten zero sleep and you were okay the next day. You still performed well, you were fine, you didn't need a nap. And so I just told myself this every single night for, I would say, a few weeks, and then I got over it. Like, my
Mm,
body just believed the mantra I was telling myself, and I stopped
mhm,
fearing sleep. I
mhm.
stopped fearing food, and I stopped fearing my pain, and so I feel today, like, very 100% recovered. At the same time, this is, of course, a journey, so there are still days where I'll get, like, stress-related acne, or I'll get a stress-related issue, but my thought is psychological. It's like, "Okay, this is an emotional issue, like, what am I stressed about? What is on my mind? What am I fearing?" Rather than I need to reach for, kind of a quick fix, or I need to, like, go to the doctor. I just feel a lot more in control of my body and my mind. And it's just, I mean, it's a whole new world for me now. I'm a yoga teacher. I'm building Nervana, an app for
Yeah.
mind body symptoms.
Which we
So,
will get into in a minute. Yes, let's
yes.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. And let me just say one of my favorite parts about your story when we were just like talking at the ATNS conference was because we were vibing over bloating and
Yes.
the history of like
Yes.
how bad that had been for both of us. And it just stood out to me so it was like so I don't know, like lovely to me when you were like, I was so worried at one point about my wedding day and my wedding
Yes.
dress. And you were like, and I was not bloated on my wedding day.
Seriously,
Such
no,
a
that's the
win.
beauty that's the beauty of community, is when you have people that can see things that you did not see yourself. So after I was recovered, feeling like I was a recovered individual and I found the solution to all of my issues and everything made sense, I still sporadically would get bloating. And so I did reach out on the community forum a few months before my wedding, and I was like, kind of freaking out because I have a really tight dress for my wedding. I want to look amazing, obviously.
Obviously.
And I'm feeling like I'm getting this bloating. And somebody, I think it was actually that same sweet angel that that wrote that Insomnia post, she responded to me and said, like, even in the text that I had typed, I had said, like, something in my life, like, made me fill up with anger. And she was like, well, do you think that, like, using the term fill up, like, maybe you're subconsciously, like, fixated on your bloating? And could there be more to the story? Like, are there things that you're worried about, like becoming a wife or just, like, the change in identity? And that moment was really beautiful because it was like, okay, the journey is kind of forever. And I
Mhm,
am so glad that I'm equipped with these tools.
mhm,
And now I'm gonna go, like, journal about it. And
mhm.
yeah, my wedding day was not bloated. I was so happy. It was just not top of mind for me. And I think when you stop fixating on the symptoms, of course, with the caveat of having to first believe that you don't have a structural issue, so that's why you should go to the doctor first. But if you're in
Yes,
that situation where you've ruled out those structural injuries, then fixating on the problem is what can keep that fear cycle going. So,
yes,
that's my
yes.
story.
Thank you so much for sharing that, and to hear where you're at is just so inspiring, like, I hope that people listening are taking this in, like, the way you're saying, like, "I am recovered, and
Yes.
it is a journey forever." Yes, and yes. I mean, it's just, like, that's so amazing to hear, and I'm sure giving so many people so much hope. Um And it's one thing I wanna say quickly before we get into talk about the app is that, something that really stands out to me in your story, which is typical of a lot of people's stories, is, like, going to the best doctors. And I'm sure those doctors are great with the things they're trained in. Obviously, like, they're saving lives. They're doing a lot of things that I could never do. And yet, I think it's so important that people in this world who either A, know that they have TMS or neuroplastic pain, or they're even like, oh, is this right for me? It's like you doubt it, you're questioning it, but you're like, might this be it? I
Mhm.
would really encourage people who are in this space with us, look past that.
Mhm.
Look past the top doctor, because the top doctor typically, unfortunately, doesn't really know about this. And literally using Nora's app or getting on my podcast is going to give you better information than the top doctor, which I feel like sounds a little crazy, but I'm like, I have gotten so much more from reading Dr. Howard Schubiner's book, reading,
Mhm.
John Sarno's books, listening to Nicole Sachs's podcast, reading Nicole Sachs's book. I've gotten more from that stuff than I have from
Mhm.
so many medical doctors. So I just want to throw that out there to people, like, trust the medical system, obviously, and also go in, like, knowing the limitations of that system. But any other thoughts you have on that?
No, it's a really important point because for in my experience, I actually found that by going to the top doctors, I was more primed to accept that I had a neuroplastic symptom and that I had had
Yeah.
multiple neuroplastic symptoms
Yes.
because I couldn't fight with myself too much longer because it was like,
Mhm.
"Okay, Nora, you've, like, already gone to the top doctors." Like,
Right.
and, I'm sure people listening will have this feeling where, like, you go to a doctor and they're kinda like, "Yeah, I guess you could try that. I guess you could try that other," like, they're not confident in what they're telling you, and they're kind of
The
like,
worst. I
like,
know exactly what you're talking about. It's terrible.
you come to them and you're like this type A student and you're like, but
Yes.
I read online that there's this one thing that we could try. And they're kind of like, yeah, yeah, you could try that if you wanted. And I'm like, why are you asking me if I want? Like, what should I do? Like, I want to know what to do.
I relate to this so deeply. Like, this totally.
Yeah, and so, for some people, I do think, like, by exhausting traditional treatments, that's when they're ready for this type of teaching. And actually, so the app that I'm building is
Yes,
meant
let's get
for
into it.
people
Tell
like
us.
that.
Yes, tell us about the
So
app.
the
Let's go.
app is called Nervana, Nervana. It's a play on nervous system. And essentially, what the app is it's productized the clinical trial that I was in. Simply, it takes people on a journey in the same journey that I was a part of in that clinical trial with professionals, takes them on that journey, holds their hand through nervous system retraining, outcome independence, leaning into their symptoms and not being afraid of it. So the app is for all neuroplastic symptoms. We're not discriminating against any symptom, but it is intended for people who have already ruled out structural injury. So they've exhausted their options. We're kind of marketing it as last line treatment. Like when you've
Yep.
tried everything else under the sun and you're still not better, try Nervana. Like just give it
Yep.
a try.
Yep, that's
So
when you get to mind body work, isn't it? And how cool is
totally.
that's the poster you saw
Yep.
that started you on, like, this whole path that changed your life. That's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, just some detail on the app, what users could expect. So it's really meant to be short and sweet. We have 15-minute sessions. You don't have to do it every single day. And you get taken through this program where you log into the app, you learn a little bit of science backed education that's customized to your unique symptom. You talk with an AI coach, so a conversational AI coach for about 5 minutes. And this coach is really there not as a therapist, it's very much not that. It's there to help you dig a little bit deeper, reinforce that education, and allow you to interact with a voice rather than just consuming content because some people learn differently. Like they need a teacher and maybe they don't have the funds or it's not accessible for them to go to an individual mind body coach. And so
Well,
we're
and let
positioning.
me just say with I am one who's, like, a late adopter to new technology. I'm
Yeah.
one who's like, AI stresses me out, and I don't like thinking about it. And when I was at the ATNS conference, shoot, I don't remember his name. That's so annoying. But there was someone there who was also working on an app related to mind body stuff. And one of the things he had in the app was an AI chatbot that was, like, mind
Mhm.
body informed. And I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, interesting." Um, and he gave me, like, a free trial version of the app, and I was like, "Let me just talk to this app and see,
Yeah.
and see what kinda conversation comes up." They, I was bec I e the conference was, like, kind of a lot, so my hip was hurting
Yeah.
a little, like, it was
Yeah.
like a trigger day, like 2 of the days were, like, trigger days for me, so my hip was hurting, and on the way in the car, I opened up the app and was like, "Why is my hip still hurting?" And it
Uh-huh.
gave me these honestly, I mean, I was saying to myself, like, remember, it's emotional." It gave me, like,
Mhm.
this long thing, like it's a triggered response to this or that. Perhaps it's related to this thing. Maybe it's related to that thing. Maybe you have an association with the thing you just did. And I was like, yes, 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 and yes. And
Yep.
I was pleasantly surprised by how and the AI chatbot was helpful. So I just want to throw that out there for
Totally.
people who are like question mark on that. But go
None
ahead.
none of us are immune to, like, having flare-ups come up, and it's really helpful to have on-demand, personalized support. I think for us at Nervana, we're really interested in that voice conversation piece, because we think it just supports that back and forth, understanding and ultimately, can help people with relief. So we're really invested in that. So it's not a text chatbot, it is a voice conversation. And that coach, learns about you and asks follow up questions. And then we also are collecting evidence in the background that users can access in their Insights tab, which basically is a list of evidence of things you have said that point towards a neuroplastic symptom diagnosis. We're not diagnosing anybody here, but
Sure.
what we're doing is we're like calling out these inconsistencies. We're documenting like, hey, it's interesting you said that you're a perfectionist. Like that's something that is often associated with a neuroplastic symptom. So
So
we're
helpful, so helpful. I mean, people talk about building an evidence list, and no, many times people don't actually do that. This app, the fact that it does it for you,
yeah,
I'm like, people get the app.
yes,
That's good.
yes.
That's good.
And you can also share that report of insights and your symptom progress, which we're not asking people to track their symptoms every single day because that's not the point, right? The point is more like emotional work. But, we do have a vision of ultimately getting the Nervana app to doctors, getting this to be potentially free for users. So having it be insurance reimbursable would be huge.
Wow.
And ultimately, we do need to track progress. So we're tracking people's symptoms once every 7 days so that we can collect that evidence. And users can export their insights, their evidence list, their session insights with their coach, and their symptom progress to their medical team. So if you're actively working with a coach or a medical doctor or any clinician, you have the option to say, hey, here's what I've been working on with Nervana in between appointments. So we are supporting and encouraging integrative care. So hopefully it'll be helpful for people. I'm really excited to see what people think and hopefully support their recovery.
It's so cool to hear about making this accessible to people who really need it. When
Yeah.
like, I mean, my thinking is like you need it. So many people's stories are like yours and mine at this time in history with
Yes.
mind body treatment, where like the low is low and you are
Yes.
desperate by the time you come to find
Yes.
this stuff. And wouldn't it be amazing if this was normalized enough that a doctor would say like, try the Nervana app, and that
Yes.
somebody would understand like, oh right, right, I've heard of this, I know about
Mhm.
this, it would make sense if my symptoms were this, let me try it. Like, give it, I mean, 5 years maybe, I don't know, give it 20 years, hopefully that might be kind of normal. You
Right.
know.
I'm going to do my very best along with my co-founder, Miles, who is amazing. So he's the CTO and he's been building the product. And him and I would love to move as quickly as possible to try to make mind body approach mainstream. You're exactly right. Our end goal is for people to go to their primary care doctor when they're having an issue, get referred to a specialist to rule out structural injury, go back to their primary care doctor and say, didn't work, and their care doctor to say, hey, Nervana is a tool that's been useful for my other patients. Here you go. Try this app. And
Mhm.
when people find relief in the same way that I found relief from the clinical trial, I think we can really change the world. Like we can make it more mainstream. There are amazing books and resources, and your podcast and everyone's podcast is amazing. Like there
Mhm.
are so many resources, but sometimes people need to be told what to do from a doctor that they
Yes.
trust.
Yes.
And so that's really what we're building towards.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, so many people do need to be told what to do, which is legit. I mean, me too. Like, when the first person I found in this world was Nicole Sachs, and I just had to put my faith in it, like, n I found it because my friend was like, "You should look into this, it's awesome." Um, People who listen to the podcast know the story, but I there was no the number of doctors I saw for my IBS, like,
Yeah.
the number of doctors I saw. If somebody had said to me, like, even in the kind of way that they're like, "Ah, try this, try that." I don't know.
Mhm.
If someone had
Mhm.
said with any kind of level of confidence, like, "It is possible that this is an emotional and psychological issue, and there's a treatment for that.
Yep.
Learn more by reading this book, looking at this app, playing around with the app. Like learn this is a real possibility given your symptoms. Try this." If somebody had said that, I would have done it. I totally would have
Yep.
done it.
Yep, absolutely. And I think so there's in my view there's like two buckets of doctors. Some doctors just don't know about this. And I think
Mhm.
that's the job of all of this amazing research, peer-reviewed publications. That's the role of the ATNS. Like Dr. Dave Clark is our clinical advisor and he is phenomenal and so helpful and that's his mission, right? Getting doctors to understand that this could be the root cause of many of their patients' symptoms.
Mhm.
That's one piece. There's also another piece where there are doctors that do understand that this is likely due to stress or underlying emotional, dysregulation, but they don't really have tools. I mean, if
Yes.
my IBS doctor said, maybe you should get a therapist, I would have been probably offended and like not
1000%.
understood it. And so I
Yep.
think there's a lack of tools available for doctors that already get it. And
Mhm.
that's who we're targeting first.
Mhm.
We wanna go to those doctors and say, "Here's a tool that works,
Mhm.
disseminate it. This could be useful." And so we've already
Mhm.
built, like, a pipeline of clinicians, and that is, it's amazing to see that there are already doctors on board.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And the 2 things I'm thinking. First, the last guest that, I had on the podcast, her name was Amy Yarin, and she
Mhm.
has an amazing recovery story. And one of the things she said is, like, somebody had said to her some medical provider had said to her something about her symptoms, like, well, maybe it's stress, but or maybe it's emotional, maybe it's
Mhm.
related to trauma, I think is actually what they said. And the way Amy put it was like, they said that, but they did not say that it was workable, which I think is
Mhm.
such a good way of putting it. I mean, it's similar to what you're saying. It's
Right.
like there's tools like
Right.
that, like because you can think like, oh, this is because of my trauma, and that can feel
Mhm.
crushing because it's like, well, maybe it will never change. Maybe it is what it is, and maybe I have no control over that, and like that's the end of the line. But that's not true. It is workable. There are tools. Those of you listening to the podcast, I will say that again. It is workable and there are tools. That's the first thing I'm thinking. The second thing I'm thinking is like, how many doctors are so frustrated by the patients they can't help? And like
Yep.
we are those patients, you know
We
what
are
I mean?
those we are those patients.
Right, and we were. Like I was that patient. For many years I was that patient. And just to think like uh, that so many doctors were so frustrated by me. How much nicer would it be for them to be able to have this resource to hand over and be like, "I think this will help you."
Absolutely. I think every single doctor probably has a handful of patients that were like us, that were hypervigilant, prone to these types of conditions, but they don't know how to help them. And so, yeah, I hope that this tool will be really helpful for people, supporting them in their journey and maybe even leading them down this insightful path where they just start to understand themselves a little bit better, and also, maybe they find some of these amazing mind body coaches or clinicians or therapists, and then they continue the work.
Mhm,
And so Nervana can be an entry point for people. They can also continue to use the app. So we're going to be coming out with really great features. But we also just want to introduce them to this world and
mhm,
help just
mhm.
make this more mainstream. I think that's what we all want, right? Like we're all doing our
Totally.
part to try to make this mainstream, especially those of us that have recovered and feel like this is like a hidden secret that
Yeah,
doesn't need to be hidden. It's like
right.
mostly free. Um,
Isn't that nuts? I know. The amount of money I've spent on this is, like, not much. Like, it's not.
right, right. And so the app itself is not free, but we're pricing it at like the cost of one, session with like a human coach or human
That's
therapist out of
awesome.
pocket.
And when you compare stuff like that to, like, thousands of dollars for surgeries and procedures and
Yes. Yes.
bizarre fringe supplements that people will drop so much
Totally.
money on, and I've been there, same. I mean, it's so the prices, it's apples and oranges. I mean, you can't even compare it.
So it is like free 99 to look up
Yeah.
some of these wonderful podcasts. It is a little bit of money just to buy some of these amazing books. And if you want a, handheld nervous system retraining program of like, here's what you need to do each session, vetted by clinicians, then I would encourage people to take a look at the Nervana app as well. They can find it in the App Store. And our website as well is trynervana.com, Nervana.
That'll be in the show notes. I love it. And let me add, like, for people listening, like, you're worth it. If you are, like oh, I shouldn't spend money on that. Usually, I mean, some, you know your finances better than I. So, sometimes that really is like you can't afford therapy, you can't afford the app.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Sometimes that is real. I respect that. Most times, the real issue, because it is such a core part of TMS and neuroplastic pain and mind body stuff, such a core part of it is not knowing how to take care of yourself properly. And a
Mhm.
big part of that is feeling like you're not allowed to spend any money on yourself. Even if the app
Mhm.
isn't expensive, you think to yourself, like, oh, I don't deserve it. But
Mhm.
you will spend money on something that is like in the mindset of like, there's something really wrong with me and I need to be fixed. That you're like, let me throw money at that. But something that's like, oh, I need to take care of myself. I need to do something nice for myself, for like the true kind of raw inner me. That is more challenging to spend money on for most of us. But I just want to say you're worth it. Period.
That's beautiful. Yes. And a lot of people also have HSAs. So this is HSA
Mm.
eligible with a diagnosis and a letter of medical necessity from your doctor, which we provide as well. But you're absolutely right. I think like I, as a recovering patient myself, years ago, was spending so much money on probiotics for my digestive issue. Like I probably tried 100 probiotics.
Yo,
I tried
yeah,
all of these D2C brands for insomnia, like, maybe it's not the right I think I spent $300 on a pillow in
sure.
case that was my issue. I had a
Yeah,
very expensive mattress,
yeah,
the blackout curtains, like, all of that, like, doing all of these things and spending all of this money, but on, items that might not be targeting the root cause, which is really
yes,
your brain, your nervous system, your fear response. And,
yes.
and like you said, I mean, if you have a neuroplastic symptom, it is retrainable. Like you can get better.
Yeah. I am currently sitting in an office chair that cost $1,200 for this exact reason. It was because of my hip. I was like, "That's the problem." It's this I've had
Right.
this chair now for many years. This was
Yeah.
I bought this way before I found out about mind body work. The chair was not the solution, folks. I still have it, and I'm like, "Alright, well, now that I
Yes.
have this expensive as fuck chair, might as well
Yeah,
use it."
yeah. Might as well enjoy it.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I
okay,
mean,
I
My
oh,
my
go ahead,
biggest advice to people is just to
please.
start looking, like, inwards, right? Like, even if you're not gonna pay for any sort of app or program or anything, just start looking inwards. Like, ask yourself, are my migraines getting worse when I'm with, family or when I'm in a particular situation? Or is my symptom reacting unpredictably to like the food I'm eating? Or, am I having anxiety right before I get into bed? Like all of these things, like just reflect on what's actually going on rather than putting stock into like the next thing that you're going to try. Just like take a pause and like reflect, and then outcome independence, I think, is my other piece of, strong advice is just like, can you believe that you will be okay, even if you do have to live with it forever? And it's like a paradox, right? Like, where we just told you that if you have a neuroplastic symptom, you can get better. But at the same time, like you have to believe that your body is safe and will be okay, even if you don't get better. And so that paradox I find tricky, but hopefully these resources, your podcast and hopefully, our app can help with that.
Isn't it a funny paradox that accepting it helps it go away?
Yep.
Yeah, and that's the truth. Try Nervana.com, correct?
Yes. Yes. That's right.
Nervana. So for everybody
Yes.
listening, try Nervana.com. Try it out. It's right there. Nora, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This is such a fun conversation and so inspiring to hear about not only all the symptoms that you've recovered from, which is amazing, um, to get like the advice you have and to
Yes.
see like how you're putting this out in the world in a way that like I feel hopeful about. Like I didn't know all this about the app and now I'm like, okay, like this is great. But and any final words to close us out with?
No, I think, community is really important. So just immersing in community. So I really appreciate that you've started this. Like I'm a big podcaster and I love finding and hearing stories that are similar to your own. So I hope that, each guest that you have like has a unique perspective and could be like the cause of someone else's recovery, which is really, really amazing. So I'm just happy to have been on, and thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. And for people listening, that will be you someday. If you're on this path, like it works. I mean, it takes time and it takes a different amount of time for everybody. But if you're on the path of mind body healing, like it will help your chronic pain, period. So that this will be you someday. And
Yes.
I will plan to see you all next week.